We're at home, got Magnuson. It's quarter to 8. I'm gonna set off now. I tend to set off like quarter to 8 on the days I'm on my own, and we're all fully loaded out, so it'll be an easy day today. So I've got to built these yesterday, and they were filming. I'm on my own, and no loading bay. 2 little boards just got full. That's the gear. I'm lifting it up. So I'm going to set a board up, fucking somewhere there. Build this. Right, so we've got us corners up, little racks, and because I'm sort of at belly height, I'm going to wall overhand here. I'm going to point overhand as well. I've pointed this overhand. I'm going to stand on that beer crate down there. So that's a bit of a tip when doing these. Elevate yourself. Hey guys, Harry here with part 2, topping the wall off. As you can see, I'm doing the overhand work off of the milk crate. I've got my knee rested against this boundary wall that obviously it's already obviously gone off solid, and I'm leaning over the wall. And, to see my Harris at the other side. And it's an awkward job. You can see, you can get a bit of a clearer idea from today's video than the first one how it goes topping walls off. This is the best strategy so far which I've used to attempt topping walls off effectively, and to be able to earn a bit of money on price. In all honesty, you'll learn about day work rate, doing this. Ideally you want to get day work doing them, but I've done them that long. I've done all these walls on price. I've done the tile and brick on edge on price for the last 3 to 4 years, so I've got used to just being able to make a nice steady wage. I find topping walls off a lot of a sort of a steadier, more relaxing day, and no matter how how hard I work or how steady I take it, I still tend to earn basically what I get on day work anyway. So I do them on price. Sometimes I'll earn a little bit more on some straight runs. Sometimes if the weather comes, it'll rain me off and I'll get a little bit less done. But it's no big deal really. And a lot of the time, because I tend to just do walls and garages on these sites, it's sort of a little bit of since I do get a lot of the straight walls and a lot of the easier work, it's my little way of topping them off, making sure I finish all my own walls, and sometimes top an odd other gang's wall off if I'm asked to say thanks in a way for getting pretty ideal work for a solo bricklayer or one-on-one, pretty regularly. So it's definitely one of them things. If you're an apprentice, you might get this sort of work, or if you're a steadier bricklayer, a lot of older guys tend to get this sort of work. It's steadier. It's a lot of bricklayers just can't make any money doing this, and to be honest, I don't blame them. It is hard. You probably can't really make any money on this unless you're solo or one-on-one with enough runs. Like I had one day on this with my old man, the first day when I built all these pillars, and we didn't quite make as money that we normally want to make. We weren't far off, to be honest, but we weren't. We were a few quid short, and then it obviously only does 3 days anyway, so we got loaded out, and then today, I did more than enough, to earn me money easily today on my own, and I've left. I've got plenty done today, and I've left plenty on for Monday since we lost Friday. I would have got it done Friday easily on my own, but I'd done all the awkward stuff on this day which you're watching, and I got majority of the tiles on up until these last 2 straight panels. I got all the pillars tiles, all the squint, all the small panel toppy tiles, and I just had these 2 last lengths to put tiles on, and then brick on edge it all, which is only about 200 brick on edge, which is easily doable. My personal best in one day for just doing brick on edge on its own, regularly jointed, is I did 30 meters in a day once of brick on edge, and I think today I think there's only about 12 meters of brick on edge on top of the tiles that I've already laid, so that would be easily doable for myself with my old man on the Monday, since obviously it's just another example of, you know, how much time you lose in the bricklaying game with weather. You know, it were raining till 1 o'clock, double raindrops, and even with a bit of drizzle in the air, doing brick on edge on top of tiles, it's just a no-go. You know, you can't do it with any rain. It basically wrecks your work. It makes you go about half the speed, and it makes a shit job of it. So I tend to just have them days off. You know, it is unfortunate. The drizzly days came when I was doing this wall, but it's just how the cookie crumbles in a sense. So yeah, I'd say as well, doing these walls, the biggest addition to making them easier is having the fixed brick. I know it sounds really silly, like, well, it's only a 3-course corner or a 4-course, 5-course rack back. But you try bang a pin into a 3 or 4-course rack back, and I tell you, I shit you not, you'll be dropping your line down the other side of the wall, off the scaffold. Your pin will be falling out every time you move it up a course. You know, it'll be cracking your rack backs, pulling your bricks over. This fixed brick that Richard sent me has been the fucking biggest speed increase for building any types of corners, but especially small corners, and that is what is some of the that's what is mainly the fastest method for building freehand, is small corners running in. This is what I used to do in winter when I wasn't using profiles for any reason, in case we'd left them on another site or we'd left them at home. 6 or 8 course running, let them, and I used to do it in big long flanks, let it all go off, let the wind hit your bricks, because a lot of time if you've got slightly damp bricks and you go up too quick, too fast, too high, too fast, you know, you can get some sinkage. You know, walls can start leaning over and stuff. So the 6-course corner is the best. You know, 6 or 8 course corner is the best sort of corner to build for freehand speed and then running in. And these fixed bricks make it a fucking breeze, because, you know, you can hold your fixed brick on half a brick, bedded on with some gobble, as long as it's gone off somewhat. It's an absolute dream. I can see, you know, you're having to moderate the amount of tension you put on the line in winter when the bricks are wetter and they're not going off as quick. Definitely be putting less tension on the line, be more mindful of any sag, but it holds it tight enough for it not to sag, but be mindful of any, you know, when your line is slack, you tend to lay on it a little bit, and you've just got to watch out for that. Overhand as well, the one thing I hate about walling overhand, which I had a right doodah with a few guys in the comments, I had to block a couple of them. Apologise if you're watching this video, but, you know, start sprouting rubbish and you just get blocked. But the biggest thing is that I made a little bit of a mistake on. It's not very noticeable, but a couple of my bed joints were a couple of mil too big. Probably one of them were about 5 mil bigger than I'd have liked it, so it was a little bit of a fucking chalk ice joint on a couple of beds. Doesn't help with these bricks being a bit rounded on the arises, so it can have a little bit of a chalk ice effect in some areas of the brick where it sort of curves where each brick goes. So I wish I'd have, maybe squeezed the bed joint down a couple of mil tighter on some of these courses overhand, but it's all things to watch out for next time. As I'd said in the last video, I'd like to build the pillars a bit differently as well. I'd still build them like this with the little racks. Definitely makes the most sense getting your pillars out of the way in one day first. But I'd definitely rack the pillars back as I went building them, rather than trying to build them course by course as you get to college. I've always been a fan of racking them back. I just don't know why I didn't do it this time. I think I was more concerned about falling over the wall trying to reach off these low scaffolds off a hop up than I was actually, building it more effectively. It's a lot easier if the scaffold's higher. As you can see, I'm stood on a milk crate to be able to reach this, whereas really the scaffold should be at the height I'm at now, and I would have had no issue. The only reason they don't do it like this a lot of the time is because you're tempted to say that you'll fall over it, but as long as there's a handrail, and they can sometimes put a handrail at the far side of your wall, ideally you scaffold at both sides, but if they were really that bothered, they'd put a handrail at the far side of the wall so you couldn't fall over it if they were so inclined. But then again, you have the issue, you've got to point the backside, so you need that handrail basically not there. So I don't know, I've never seen a way of these scaffolds done right really, other than the traditional board and tube scaffolds. These German scaffolds have some perks to them, but I find them a little bit of a ball ache. They're a bit small, they're openings, I can't fit through them a lot of the time. So yeah. As well, when it comes to if you're ever working on site with these German style scaffolds, if you can get hold of a few of the small cross pieces that attach to the scaffold, you just use a hammer to knock them in. I was putting one where the circle joining pieces are. I was putting one little strut out over the handrails to rest my board on, to like mimic a motorboard stand. But since this was only a 2-board scaffold, you know, the spot board was basically in your way. So if you can grab a couple of the sort of metal like short pieces, and just hammer them into parts down the scaffold, it's a lot easier. I was using one for the far end, where it was really tight, where the opening to the scaffold was. So that's a pretty that's a pretty good tip for anyone who finds himself doing this. It is very undesirable work. You know, it's nothing that you're going to be earning. You know, you're not going to be earning 300 or 400 a day topping walls off. I think the most I've earned in a day was about 300 quid, and I had a pretty long stretch of boundary wall to get that many tiles and brick on edge on. And you know, it's still doable. You know, you still can make money if you're quick enough, but it's just something that is situational, weather dependent massively. So any wet weather, and you basically just got to go home. You can't, you know, because I've done it before where I was topping a wall off that I took over, similar to this, where I took over one panel of it, and then I'd end up having to top the whole thing off. And I rushed it one Christmas, and it was fucking cold, wet weather, and about a year later I had to come back and I had to just repoint some of it. You know, I got paid to do it obviously, but you know, it's a bit humiliating having to go back and fucking snag your own work a year later because it's fucking bricks have blown because of the frost and you rushed it. And to be honest, it wasn't really my fault in a sense. There's nothing wrong with my work. It was just that some of the bricks had blown because they were laid that wet, and some were a bit smudged, and I had to brick acid some of it. So you know, it is humiliating. I've done it myself before. The actual woman I was doing the job for, I remember her saying, "Oh, you obviously haven't done this." And I was thinking, I have, but I'm not going to tell you that. But I've lived and learned since then. You know, I was a couple of years ago. I did that for a year and a half ago. I did that, and I learned never to rush these again, and just accept if it's raining one day, just fucking don't do it. Jump on something else. This day in particular, on the Friday, which I stayed at home, I could have theoretically gone in and jumped on some other bits of work, and there'd have been no problem. But with the weather, you know, I don't like to fight against it. I think there's plenty of days in a year that you're going to be working, and obviously if you can see how I work, I've worked to 4 or 5 o'clock sometimes. Obviously we're starting later, so I think I do enough work on the days that are dry to warrant, you know, the days having time off. You know, I've not had any real holidays since the one I've just come back off of, and I very rarely get rained off because I end up getting remedial work that can be done inside or can be done when it's drizzling. So I've worked in all sorts of weather over the years, and I've tried to just avoid the rain now, especially with, you know, the prices increasing all the time. You know, one of my mates his prices have gone up to 600 a thou. We're on 550 at the moment, probably soon to raise to 600, probably to follow suit with everyone. They all even out eventually, but whoa, what are you doing? You can't climb up there, buddy. Whoa, you don't climb on TVs. Jesus Christ. Wow, sorry about that. My little kitten's climbing on TV. Don't climb on, that's what your climbing frame's for. Anyway, so yeah, still doing pick and dip, obviously. Still doing pick and dip, how I'm laying all these bricks, no matter if I'm topping a wall off, what type of work I'm doing, it's always pick and dip now. Just the time of year is a massive factor. I can probably see myself going back to doing some more traditional style laying in winter when there's wet bricks, because I'd say pick and dip, you know, if your bricks are wet, you don't really go very well sometimes. You know, you can have a lot of, you know, speed boats in your wall, you know, your bricks can slide all over. But one thing that obviously does lend itself well to pick and dip is stiffer mortar. So if you can get your mortar a bit stiffer in winter when everything's a bit wetter, then again, it's lending itself to pick and dip good again. You know, so there's plus and minuses. You find some people using pick and dip more in hot weather. Some people using it more in cold weather. It depends on the site as well, if you know how keen they are on cavities, full joints, whether you're doing your brickwork first, block work first on plots and stuff. So that's another factor. I'd probably say as well, with when it comes to pick and dip, if you're on like footings and stuff, it can be really hard to get down there every time with just one trowel mortar. So I'd probably like to probably more do a traditional style lane when I'm bent double, but I've managed to sort of sidestep that splash course on that last footing I did. I ended up getting two service holes in the wrong place apparently, but I checked the drawing and they were bang on to where I got told they were. So this is the same issue again that you find on a lot of sites. You'll get blamed for doing something wrong. I was helping the groundworkers out with that, and now I've been blamed for getting a manhole, getting a service hole in the wrong place. When I asked them where are the service holes going, you should point to me on this drawing where they're going. He said, "Oh, it's the part where we've put the X's, we've highlighted it." And so I had a look at those and I checked them all. I said, right, 6 points. They're these six. This is the measurement right here. I pointed it out to them, and they said yes. And I was within 100 mil of those measurements at least, to the nearest block. And basically, I've been led in the wrong direction. Either they had a different drawing than I did, or I'd been told wrong. So that's you'll find that a lot of the time. You'll get blamed sometimes for an apparent mistake you've made or something that you've missed off when you've actually just not been given the right information. So that's another thing you got to watch out for. Fucking gang who took over my work, who, to be honest, a bunch of fucking arseholes, to be honest, because I said to him, "All right, mate, how's it going?" He was like, "Oh yeah, you've left you've missed some holes out. We've sorted your house out," as if they'd done me a favour. Like, yeah, that's all right then. You've just took the square bit of brickwork that was all the way around, and I've done all fucking heavy lifting. So they were, talking to me like I didn't know what I was doing. But you get that. You get bricklayers like that. Rushing about or watching. It's just bit of a shame. You just run into another one who's an arsehole, but it's just fact of life really. It's a lot of bricklayers I meet like that. So I just laughed it off. I went, "Oh right, good for you," and good day, carry on my wall. So that's one of the things you come against. But I've probably got a few more footings coming up in the future. I said to supervisor we work for, the manager we deal with, I've said we'll do some again, and he's got some more coming up that he can pen us down for at some point. But yeah, I've got another day on this on Monday, a steady day on Monday with the old man on this, and then depending what they want me doing, I think I'm either going to do a wall in a garage on another site that isn't Red Row, it's Miller Homes, or I've got a couple of panels of boundary wall to do on here if the scaffold's dropped in time for me to do them. But I doubt it will be. I don't know what else I'm penned down for. But I'll find out on Monday, and you'll know on Monday's video, because I've not recorded anything really. I've got probably enough videos to get me till Tuesday night. So probably Tuesday night you'll be seeing some tile brick and edge footage of me running in some more tiles brick and edge on these, because I did all the tiles sort of when my phone had run out of charge on this day. So I didn't get any of the pillar tiles, which I should have filmed, but I didn't have any charge on my phone, and you'll just see me probably get some footage of me running tiles in straight. What I do for the tiles, in fact, I don't put a perp joint on any of the tiles. I just put them straight up to each other. If there's any little voids, you should rub them with your finger with some little bit of mortar on the end, a bit like filling in between flags, but obviously tiles. I bed it on like a 10mm bed at the bottom, and then I try and make the bed between the tiles like 5mm if the wall's pretty level. In this case, the gang had done it before, had not thought to put a level on the top, so it wasn't level with the house. So I was running off the house with my panel, and their pillars and brickwork wasn't in level with that. It wasn't gauged to the house, so I'd sort of do a bit of black magic with my panel to make it look like it fit in with the wall. And then theirs I had to level up, because I think they don't like a lot of gangs just put a tape measure on the footing and presume the footing's level, and I know a lot of the time it isn't. because I know the guys who've got a lot of time build them, and I'm nothing against footing bricklayers, but you know, they get a bit, because they're always working not, you know, below ground, everything ain't seen. They get a bit, you know, complacent with the with using the level and just, you know, getting things, you know, you get used to being rougher underground. You just have that mindset. I even had it for a week when I worked on the footings, you know, roughing the blocks up a little bit with flushing them up and stuff, and they wanted them jointing like face work, and I was a bit taken aback, to be honest, because I was like, you know, I've got to get into the mindset of I'm building footings. It's not seen, it's not face work. You know, it's got to be gauge level plumb, but you know, it's going to be hidden. So I had a bit of a change of mindset when I was on those, and I'd say all in all, you know, I didn't dislike the work. You know, I thought it was, you know, it was a ball ache because of the type of work I was doing, and the guys I was dealing with weren't, you know, the usual people I like working for. So obviously it was nice, but like these footings in future will be for the firm I work for. So it'd be nicer, nice to do it direct to the subby instead of through another firm. So it'll be nice. You know, I don't care who you are. If you don't like the person you're working for, you're probably not going to work very hard for them. So you've got to sort of like the firm you're working for, else you probably just got to move. I like the firm I work for. You know, worked here almost 3 years, and it's been the best 3 years of my bricklaying career, really. So can't fault it. You know what I mean? Can't fault it. It's definitely important to like the firm you're working for, in one way or another. You know, every firm has the pros and cons, but in one way or another, you've got to, you know, stand back and think, yeah, you know, I like working for these guys. They don't stress me out. You know, it's a pretty good way of going on. So, yeah. So getting on to the next topic, when I'm talking about the tiles, obviously I haven't got any footage of me doing them in this video, but I do lay them all with the level. So I was saying before that I went off on a bit of a tangent. I do like a 10mm bed, the bottom. But on these, because these walls were a little bit out of level, I had to do like a bit of a good 10-50, about a good 10mm bed on the bottom, and then at one side I was doing like a 10-12mm bed, and then by the time I got to the other side, it was more like a 6 or 7mm bed. So you can sort of get your level back on the tiles by just moderating the joints on them in between them. And because of the hot weather, I was doing one spread laying the tile, one spread laying the tile. So I just got one trowel floor mortar, tapped off a little, spread it each side, quickly V'd it on the edge, press my tile down, repeat. I used to like sort of scrape my trowel, the arris of the brick, and just like put a little scrape spread, like a little like cut off spread on each side. But what I found is it doesn't fill the joint effectively, and you end up having to spend a lot of time pointing underneath the tile. I'll show you what I mean in Sunday's video, in Monday or Tuesday's video. You'll see that I was putting a nice good spread on the bottom and a good spread on the in between the tiles, and pressing them down and making sure I got plenty of mortar squeezing out, because that is the biggest thing that sped me up on these tiles, was not skimping on the beds. It takes a little bit longer to press them down, yeah, I know that, but you've got a more stable tile and you don't get that lipping effect, that like cockling effect on your tiles by just putting a skim spread. So it's a little bit different in winter. You've got to sort of be more conservative with your spread, but then you have to obviously get your mortar a lot stiffer, so you know you run into the same issues as you do in summer with having to squeeze the mortar out, but you're obviously using a stiffer mix. Like in summer now, I was still using sort of, you know, a standard bricklaying mix of mortar to lay these tiles because it was that hot. The tiles were bone dry, they were actually warm, so you know they were going off pretty quick. Also, and as I was saying, I lay them all with a level freehand, so I use the 6 foot level, and between each panel it's only like 8 foot panels, 9 foot panels, so a 6 foot level more or less spans most of a panel, and I can just, you know, make sure there's an even lap with a tile at each side. I don't use a tape measure at all for tiles, I just do it by the eye. This is why I was talking about in the last couple of videos that it's a bit of an art form rather than a science. I don't tape measure my tiles, I just put the tiles on and I make sure there's the same gap all the way around. I don't start putting a tape measure to it because you won't see 2 or 3 mil. And the same when the tiles are, you know, going on the straight 9-inch part of the wall, just same, evenly lapped all the way across. I keep checking it all the way, and then, you know, put the level on the range of the tile at the end after leveling it all the way across freehand. Range it through, get it running pretty much straight. It hasn't got to be to the millimetre. If it's a couple of mil out of line, you're not going to see it on tiles. You just got to put your eye down it, make sure it's straight, tap it with a level. As long as it's not curving loads, it's not going to make, you're not going to notice it when the brick on edge is on and the flange. So yeah, and then when I come to doing the brick on edge on top of the tile, I try to get all my tile work done first. It's just easier, if you've got a solid base when you're laying your brick on edge too, it just makes it a lot easier and a lot faster. And I find as well, I've tried to do the tile and brick on edge at the same time, so doing a run of tiles, then brick on edge straight away on top of it. And there's so much pointing, and if you can get the tile pointed separately underneath the tile and then between the two tiles itself, it's a lot easier to just do that, and then obviously go back and do your brick on edge and flange after. Some firms just put a standard barrel jointer down the bed of the brick on edge, but on here they want like a flange. What flanging is? It's like a little ramp you make with mortar. It's like a little as you could say, a little ramp for the water to run off on the brick on edge. So obviously when it rains, it'll just run off the coping of the wall. So you're just like making a little BMX ramp at each side of the brickwork. I can't really describe it anymore like that. It's just called flanching. Look at flanching on Google, you'll see it. Not to be confused with flossing. That is a dance off the Fortnite game. But yeah, so flanching. Actually, my old man, when he works for me, he likes pointing. I do all the brick on edge from the face side where I'm working and the top, and then he just points the back side of the brick on edge perps, and then he does the flanching on one side and I do the flanching on the other. So he takes away sort of a third of the pointing away from me when I'm doing this. Third to half of the pointing does one side of the flanching. So I tend to get my face side looking pretty good, and I'll leave him to plod away and do his flanching, and makes a really neat job of it. It takes ages, but I just let him do it because a lot of the time there isn't a lot for him to do when we're all loaded out on these walls. I can just crack on and carry on getting more runs of brick on edging while he carries on pointing. He's got a lot faster over time, and he gets less frustrated with it, but he gets a little bit OCD with pointing a lot of the time, which does help me out in when I'm on garages and stuff, and the pointing looks great at either side. But it can sometimes get a bit frustrating when someone's trying to be a perfectionist on a trade where the materials using it's an art, not a science. It's not a perfect science, it's an art, and I think he fails to grasp that sometimes. So it's something we always argue over about neatness of pointing, and it's frustrating when I've been bricklaying 11 years, and he's been labouring on me for 2.5. So, and he's not a bricklayer, so we do clash sometimes over arguing over silly things like that. But that's the only time we ever argue. So if I can manage to do the brick on edge when on the days he's not here with me, we never argue. But he'll probably have something to say on Monday when we do this brick on edge. He'll have something to say about my pointing. He always does. But anyway, I suppose it stops me being rough, which is a bonus. It's a bonus for the person I'm doing the work for. For me, it just slows me down. So yeah, but yeah, I'll try to get some footage of that as well. Going back to what I said about the fixed brick, you'll never drop your line. That's a big thing. I was always dropping my line when I was pinning in. Before you won't believe the amount of times I dropped my line down the scaffold, dropped it down the other side of the wall. Having your line clamped on, and it just doesn't go anywhere. It's right. It is a little bit hard to clamp your brick, obviously, overhand, because you've got to spin the fixed brick round. But once you get used to it, and if you keep it well oiled, you won't have that problem. I've got some WD-40 right next to my fixed bricks at the moment, and I still haven't put it on, but I'm going to do it. I just got to remember. I've got the bottle next to the fixed bricks, and I just haven't done it. So, laziness on my part, but I'm gonna oil them back up. So I've been using them about a month now, and they've been fantastic. So I cannot sing the praises high enough. I'm probably gonna do a fixed brick review this weekend. an in-depth review, because I feel like I've got enough, enough use out of them now and enough experience using them. And to be honest, I think I use them a lot more effectively than a lot of guys on YouTube, because you find a lot of guys just clamping the odd brick and using them as an odd tingle sometimes, but you don't find a lot of guys actually using them for what they were intended for, which was internal corners, little mini rack backs, because there isn't a lot of guys these days who do build corners. On a daily basis. They'll sometimes just build a corner if they can't get the profile on, when a lot of times it is faster to build a corner in a lot of situations. Just the way sometimes sites are set up, or the job's set up on a day. Sometimes you just need to get fast at building them corners. And I respect anyone who builds the traditional way, in a sort of old school style, shall I say. And these fit strips make it astronomically faster. Moving your line up, and it's just easier building a lot of the time as well. So anyway, guys, we're coming up to the end of the video. Obviously you saw the check-ins from this morning, me obviously at home at 7:45. I did set off till 8, so I'm being honest, I get to site 8:30, 8:45 a lot of the time. I'm not lying, they're the hours I do. An hour snap a day, if I do 9:15, I've only done 7 hours on the trowel. So and I never really reached 5 ever, apart from this rare occasion where I was trying to get tiles done while it were dry, and probably once a month I'll wait till 5. So if I do 7 hours on the trowel in a day, I've done a graph, I've done a grueler. So yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. We're at over 800 subs now. I cannot get over how close we're getting to 1,000 subs. It's been a milestone for as long as I can remember, trying to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube with whatever content I was making. But I've now sort of I've struck gold on this bricklaying thing. Obviously, I've been bricklaying 11 years next month, and it's nice to actually make content about something you do every day. It sort of gives me a reason to keep going and to do another 11 years and another 22 years and 30 years, and hopefully do it to the day I die, depending on what venture I get into next. So like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, and let me know what topic you want me to talk about in next episode of Bricklaying vlog. So thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next one, and I've got my check-ins to see you out. See you later. Got these 3 runs in here. So that's the overhand side, so it looks a bit rough, but the inside's better. It's got this to fill in. Then we'll start putting tiles on all top of these walls and pillar tops. Bring my cutter out after snap and get about 15 packs of tiles or something. 5:15. Tiles on. Just got them left to do. Brick and edge on tops. Easy, all loaded out, sorted.